Apartment dwellers of Reddit, what secrets have you learned about your neighbors through your paper-thin walls? NSFW. My neighbor's teenage daughter sent some nudes via Facebook and got caught by her mom. That girl got yelled at like I've never heard. And I heard it all because I turned off everything in my place that made noise and stood with my ear against the wall basically the entire time. When I was younger, I moved into this new apartment complex. First night there. It started. Sex noises. Every night around 11 PM I hear this couple having sex. Loud sex. I admit that I found it a bit entertaining, because it never went on for too long, until a couple weeks later. I see the guy walking out of his apartment. 75 years old and quite husky. Nobody was having sex. I was listening to his porn over surround sound. My neighbor is a perfect neighbor. Single guy in his 40s. He makes no noise and is rarely home. I see him leaving sometimes in the morning, always in a suit and tie. Hair perfectly combed. And he drives a M6. But one weekend each month his two sons come to visit him. They are both pretty young. And the week before they come I have heard him on the balcony talking with someone on the phone about the plans he's made to do with his boys once they're there. Also once they're at his apartment I can hear him read to them every night before bed. Lived in a 4-apartment strip back in the 90s. Quiet. Peaceful. Perfect. One Saturday afternoon. I'm sitting on the couch watching TV and hear a gunshot. Second later. Another. I run next door and pound on the door. Can't get in. So I call 911. Tell them this and cops show up pretty quick. Turns out the elderly couple next door did a murder-suicide pact. Some asshole who lives right above me is a lot louder than he seems to think he is. Just the other night. I learned he's quitting alcohol and switching to wine. My neighbors used to get really high and make crazy food and eat snacks loudly late into the night. My favorite thing I ever heard as I was passing by was, "Dude. Yes. And then put some duck and cheese in it, dude. You mean stuff it in inside the bell pepper? Duck, yes. And then put that in the oven." Loud moaning. My upstairs neighbors absolutely love to move their furniture around. I assume this is supposed to be a secret because it only happens between 3 AM. 4 AM. I heard my neighbor give birth when I was a kid. It was planned. There were a bunch of people there and she did it in a bathtub or something. I've learned that my neighbor probably abuses his wife. Which of the 3 AM hallway arguments brought me to that conclusion? Was it the one where she locked him out and he tried to break down the door? Or the one where 4 separate neighbors called the cops because they were screaming at each other for almost an hour? No. The one that really fixed my impression of him is when he chased her down the stairs carrying a ducking metal pipe and he swung so hard at her that he broke off a chunk of the concrete. I kept the broken shards as a souvenir for the cops. My neighbor that lives below us likes to get gangbanged by groups of dudes twice her size, and she's not exactly petite. I was suspicious when a group of dudes showed up after her boyfriend moved out. Loud music was playing. So I figured it was just a party and a group of dudes showed up at the same time. Then the music shuts off in the living, but turns on in the bedroom. Proceed to hear dudes cheering each other on. Her asking them to give her more dick. High fives and other slappy sounds. It was awkward getting the mail the next day as she slowly walked her dog. She looked like she was hurting. This is about me. I own a condo now, but I used to live in a cheap apartment. At the time I was actively seeing 3 different girls. I lived next to a family of 3, young child, and they were very quiet. One morning, heading out the door, the mother said to me, "Hey, you called Julia Kari last night." That was how I found out I had thin walls. I moved in my new apartment last year and had a month of silence before all hell broke loose. Over the course of a few months I learned their schedule, names, and even small nuances that gave me a hunch that this person's child may be autistic. Just based on sound. Turns out, The child is, so whenever I hear screaming or stomping I try to sympathize. It still sucks though. That the cop next door is way too nosy. The kids who lived above me used to throw parties all the time. Loud music. Drunken yelling. The works. He thought it was me. And apparently my RFDC shirt, a parody of the AC/DC logo but for a science thing, was proof enough. He called the cops on me one night when the kids threw a party again. I opened my door in my Star Wars pajamas to two uncomfortable looking cops. They take one look at me, apologized, and explained the mistake. I found out later it was my neighbor when he got in my face about the noise I was making. It was my sewing machine. At 2 in the afternoon. Been a few years ago, but the family living next to me had a daughter about 13 or 14 years old, and her mom walked in on her laying face down in the bathroom floor trying to take a picture of either her asshole, vagina, or both to send to some 30-something guy she met online. I know all of these details because mom shouted them at dad when he got home from work and berated daughter for hours. Mom also called the police to report the guy asking for the pictures. I ate my supper cold because I didn't want to make microwave noise in the kitchen because mom was on a roll and it was pretty crazy. I don't know if this is a secret, but I heard the dude trying to kill his GF. Called the police. Dude left in handcuffs. My old neighbor was really lonely and adorable. She talked to her 2 dogs all the time. Her husband had died, so she lived there next door to us. It was sad, but we had a friendship with her. We would visit with our son occasionally. Even after we moved.